Most people think their life needs fixing because it's broken. They think something went wrong somewhere, a bad decision, a wasted year, a version of themselves they never became, and now they're late, behind, damaged. But what if none of that is true? In Japan, there's a quiet idea that says something completely different. It says cracks aren't proof of failure, they're proof of use, proof of living. And sometimes the crack is the most honest part of the object. If you're watching this right now, there's a good chance you don't feel ready for the next year. You might be telling yourself things like, I'll start once I'm more disciplined. I need to fix myself first. Next year, I'll finally become the person I'm supposed to be. But here's the uncomfortable truth most people avoid. The version of you that's waiting to be fixed doesn't exist. And that's not bad news. That's freedom. Right now, you probably feel like your life is uneven. Some areas look fine, others feel completely out of control. Maybe your motivation comes and goes. Maybe you start things but don't finish. Maybe you failed publicly or quietly or repeatedly. Western self-improvement culture treats this like a disease. Patch it, hide it, replace it. Be consistent, be optimized, be flawless. But the Japanese concept of Wabi-Sabi doesn't try to erase imperfections. It assumes imperfection is the starting point. That shift alone changes everything. Because if your life isn't broken, then you don't need to wait anymore. You don't need a perfect morning routine. You don't need a clean past. You don't need motivation to show up on time. You just need to work with what's already here. Think about how many times you've delayed your life because you didn't feel ready. How many plans you postponed. How many versions of yourself you imagined but never acted on. That delay feels responsible, mature, logical, but most of the time it's just fear wearing clean clothes. Wabi-Sabi sees readiness differently. Readiness isn't when everything is aligned. It's when you stop fighting reality. Here's something most people won't admit. They're exhausted not because life is hard, but because they're trying to be someone they're not yet. They wake up every day carrying a silent pressure. I should be better than this by now. That sentence alone drains more energy than any job. Wabi-Sabi removes that pressure, not by lowering standards, but by changing the definition of progress. Progress isn't becoming perfect. Progress is becoming honest. Honest about your limits, honest about your pace, honest about the season you're in. Some seasons are loud and fast, others are quiet and slow, and forcing one season to behave like another is how burnout happens. If you've ever wondered why discipline advice works for some people and destroys others, this is why. You can't force spring behavior in winter. Now here's where most people misunderstand Wabi-Sabi. They think acceptance means giving up. It doesn't. Acceptance is accurate observation. It's saying, this is where I am, this is what I have, this is what works, this is what doesn't. From that clarity, real change becomes possible. Because when you stop pretending, you stop leaking energy. Let's be honest for a second. If someone looked at your life right now, not your potential, not your intentions, just the reality, what would they see? Not judging, just observing. Maybe they'd see inconsistency. Maybe they'd see talent without structure. Maybe they'd see discipline in one area and chaos in another. That mix isn't a flaw, it's a pattern, and patterns can be worked with. Most people fail at life reform because they try to rebuild everything at once. They think transformation is dramatic, loud, total. But Wabi-Sabi favors small, imperfect adjustments, one cracked habit at a time. Not, I'll change my whole life in 2026, but what is one thing I can do even on a bad day? That question alone filters out fantasy and leaves reality. Because a system that only works when you feel motivated is not a system, it's a mood. And moods are unreliable. Wabi-Sabi systems are designed to survive low-energy days, messy days, uninspired days. They don't demand intensity, they demand presence, That's why they last. Right now, somewhere in your life, there's already something working, even if it's small. Maybe you always show up for work, even when you hate it. Maybe you take care of others better than yourself. Maybe you keep learning, even when progress feels invisible. That's not nothing. That's a foundation. Most people overlook their foundations because they don't look impressive. But Wabi-Sabi doesn't chase impressive. It respects what endures. If 2026 is going to be different, truly different, it won't be because you became a new person overnight. It will be because you stopped rejecting the person you already are. And from that acceptance, you made better, quieter decisions. In the next part, we'll break down how to turn this mindset into daily structure without forcing discipline, without pretending to be someone else, and without burning out halfway through the year. Not theory, not motivation, actual lived application. But before that, let this sink in. Your life doesn't need to be fixed. It needs to be understood. And once something is understood, it stops controlling you. Once you accept that your life isn't broken, the next question becomes uncomfortable in a different way. If nothing is wrong with you, then why does change still feel so hard?
This is where most people get stuck. They accept themselves intellectually, but their daily life doesn't change. They understand the idea, but not the execution. And the reason is simple. They try to use force where alignment is required. Wabi-Sabi doesn't ask, how do I push myself harder? It asks, where is my energy already going and why? Look at your average day, not your ideal one, your real one. When do you naturally focus? When do you avoid things? When do you feel resistance? Those patterns are not weaknesses, they're information. Most people ignore that information and copy routines that don't match their reality. They wake up early because someone online said so. They journal because it looks meaningful. They force gym sessions they secretly hate. And then they wonder why nothing sticks. Wabi-Sabi systems don't start with habits. They start with friction. Ask yourself this: what part of my day feels unnecessarily heavy? Not emotionally dramatic, just heavy. Maybe it's the way you start your morning, rushed, distracted, already behind. Maybe it's evenings where time disappears and guilt replaces rest. Maybe it's work that drains you because it doesn't align with how you think. You don't need to fix all of it. You need to soften one edge. In Japanese aesthetics, rough edges aren't sanded down aggressively. They're acknowledged, sometimes highlighted. In life, that means adjusting the environment before blaming the self. For example, if you struggle with focus, don't ask, why am I lazy? Ask, what is constantly interrupting me? If you struggle with consistency, don't say, I lack discipline. Ask, is the task too big for my current energy? Most people fail because they overestimate who they'll be tomorrow and underestimate who they are today. Wabi-Sabi respects today. Instead of building a routine for your best self, build one for your worst day. A bad day system beats a perfect day fantasy. This is where dopamine matters, but not in the way social media teaches it. Dopamine isn't about pleasure, it's about progress perception. Your brain needs evidence that movement is happening. Big goals delay that evidence. Small, visible actions create it. So instead of saying, I'll work on my life every morning, you say, I'll spend 5 minutes putting one thing in order. 5 minutes doesn't threaten your identity. It doesn't demand motivation. It doesn't trigger resistance. And once started, continuation becomes easier, not because of willpower, but because of momentum. Momentum is gentle. Force is violent. Western culture worships force. Japanese philosophy respects flow. Now here's a quiet truth that might challenge you. You don't need more habits. You need fewer, better aligned ones. Every habit should answer one question. What does this stabilize? Sleep stabilizes mood. Movement stabilizes energy. Writing stabilizes thoughts. Order stabilizes emotion. If a habit doesn't stabilize something, it's decoration. Most people decorate their lives instead of stabilizing them. They read books they don't apply. They plan futures they don't support. They consume motivation instead of building structure. Wabi-Sabi strips life down to what holds. Here's an example. Let's say your mind feels chaotic. Thoughts loop, anxiety rises, focus drops. The Western response: meditate 30 minutes daily, journal deeply, read philosophy. The Wabi-Sabi response: write down the one thought that won't leave you alone. Just one. That act alone externalizes the chaos, and once externalized, it loses power. You didn't fix your mind, you respected it. That's the difference. Now, about identity, because this is where most transformations collapse. People try to become disciplined, confident, productive. They chase traits. Wabi-Sabi doesn't chase traits, it builds evidence. You don't become confident first, then act. You act in small, honest ways, and confidence follows. Identity is not declared, it's accumulated. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, even a small one, your nervous system updates its belief about who you are. Break promises, and the opposite happens. That's why realistic commitments matter more than ambitious ones. Your brain doesn't care about your intentions, it cares about patterns. If your pattern is quitting, it learns mistrust. If your pattern is showing up imperfectly, it learns safety. Safety creates consistency. Consistency creates growth. This is why shame-based motivation never works long-term. It creates urgency, not safety. Wabi-Sabi removes shame from the process. You're allowed to be slow. You're allowed to be uneven. You're allowed to rebuild without announcing it. Growth doesn't need witnesses. As 2026 approaches, most people will chase reinvention, new identities, new aesthetics, new goals. And most will burn out by February. Not because they're weak, but because they ignored reality. You don't need a new life. You need a life that fits you. In the final part, we'll talk about how to carry this mindset forward, how to reform your life without constant self-monitoring, how to deal with relapse without self-hate, and how to let time work with you instead of against you.
Because real transformation doesn't feel heroic. It feels quiet, stable, human. And once you experience that kind of growth, you'll never want the loud version again. At some point, every transformation hits the same wall. You slip, you miss a day, then another. Then the voice comes back. You're back to where you started. Most people quit here, not because they failed, but because they misinterpret what failure means. Wabi-Sabi sees relapse differently. In Japanese craftsmanship, cracks don't mean the object is ruined. They're expected. Sometimes they're highlighted with gold. Your life works the same way. Regression isn't proof that change didn't work. It's proof that you're human inside a long process. Western self-improvement treats consistency like a streak. Break it once and everything collapses. Wabi-Sabi treats consistency like direction. As long as the direction remains, pauses don't matter. Missing a day doesn't erase weeks of alignment. Stopping forever does. The real skill isn't discipline, it's recovery. How quickly can you return without punishment? If every mistake becomes self-attack, your nervous system learns that effort is dangerous. It associates growth with pain, so it avoids it. This is why harsh self-talk kills progress, not emotionally, neurologically. Instead of saying, "I failed," say, "I stepped out of rhythm." Rhythm can be re-entered. No guilt required. Now here's something rarely talked about. Most people don't need more intensity, they need more patience. Change feels slow because it is slow. Biology moves slower than motivation. Your brain rewires through repetition, not inspiration. Your identity updates through evidence, not intention. That means days will feel ordinary, sometimes boring, sometimes pointless. And that's actually a good sign. When growth stops feeling dramatic, it starts becoming real. Wabi-Sabi growth doesn't peak, it settles. Instead of asking, "Am I improving fast enough?" ask, Is my life slightly easier to live than before? Can you wake up with less resistance? Can you recover from stress faster? Can you return to yourself sooner after distraction? Those are real metrics. Now, let's talk about time, because most people fight it. They rush because they feel behind. They panic because others seem ahead. They pressure themselves because of age, deadlines, expectations. Wabi-Sabi respects timing. In nature, nothing blooms all year. Nothing rushes winter. Your slow seasons aren't delays, they're preparation. You don't need to be constantly rebuilding. Sometimes you need to be integrating. Rest isn't quitting, it's consolidation. If you push through exhaustion, you don't grow faster, you fracture. A reformed life is not one where you're always improving, it's one where you're rarely collapsing. Stability is underrated because it doesn't impress people online, but stability changes everything. Stable sleep makes emotions manageable. Stable routines reduce decision fatigue. Stable environments calm the mind. And once your system is stable, ambition stops feeling heavy. You don't force goals, they emerge. That's the quiet power of alignment. As 2026 begins, you'll hear a lot of noise. New year, new you, reinvent yourself, go all in. You don't need any of that. You don't need to erase who you were. You don't need to hate your past. You don't need to pretend you're stronger than you are. You only need honesty. Where are you tired? Where are you avoiding? Where are you forcing things that don't fit? Those answers aren't problems, they're starting points. A wabi-sabi life isn't clean, it's coherent. Your flaws don't disqualify you from growth, they shape the path. Your sensitivity isn't weakness, it's information. Your uneven progress isn't failure, it's proof you're alive inside the process. The most dangerous belief isn't "I'm broken," it's "I must become someone else to be okay." You don't. You just need to become more aligned with who you already are. Slowly, imperfectly, honestly. That's how real reform happens. Not with fireworks, not with pressure, but with respect. For time, for limits, for yourself. And once you build a life that doesn't fight you every day, you won't need motivation anymore. Because peace is a powerful incentive. That's when growth stops being something you chase and becomes something you live.